Ladies and gentlemen, have you heard of Christy Mixie? I'm the bad guy, and she's every bit of the victim. And today's underrated movie review, we have... Okay, this movie is gonna take a lot longer. I mean a lot longer to break down. And I don't want to take all day breaking this movie down because this movie, it will have me going all in circles and all out in the right field explaining it. But I'm going to do this movie the best way I can because there's a lot about this movie that needs to be said. I don't think this movie is actually underrated because the people who seen this movie, they love this movie. The only reason that it falls in that category because it did get the promotion it needed. So this movie is most likely an independent movie. Now, I think I don't know how I'm going to approach this movie. Should I give the backstory? Should I tell the movie? Or should I explain? I don't know. I'm going to do this the best way I can. Now, the movie takes place in Utah. So Utah is like in the west of the USA. Utah is not usually a popular filming area, but that's where it takes place. Now, with it being taking place in Utah, there's this demon that the matriarch of the family worship. And the matriarch worships the 8th demon from hell, which is payment. Now, I did a research on Google, and it's only listed 7 demons, but there are more. But where payment is listed is in the north, south, east, west part. So I'm guessing that's the 8th, because they did say payment is one of the 8th demons in hell. Now, payment is the demon that rides on a horse with 3 heads. Now, this movie is pretty scary. Pretty scary. I wouldn't recommend you watching this movie at nighttime by yourself, especially if you're watching it for the first time. So I came across this movie from a YouTuber. A YouTuber was talking about what happened to horror movies or what ruined horror movies. And upon doing so, he was praising Hereditary and saying that more movies need to be like Hereditary because Hereditary did everything right. So I wanted to see for myself. And it didn't disappoint. So the video is entertaining, by the way. I do recommend you watch that movie because I died when I watched that movie, when he was talking about what happened to horror movies today. I don't know who did it or what's it called, but I'm pretty sure you're going to find it when you search what ruined horror movies. So the movie starts off with the family going to the grandmother's funeral. Now, the grandmother's funeral had a decent turnout, and the mother, well, her daughter said that she's surprised to see this decent turnout. Now, decent means that it wasn't a lot of people there, but there were some people, paying their respect. And she was not expecting people at all to be at the funeral. But I think the people at the funeral was probably part of the private ritual. Not private ritual, but the private religious. The grandmother, she's not a real people person. She didn't talk to people. She didn't have friends. So that's why she was surprised to see the turnout. Now, upon the grandmother being so private, the location can't be any private. It's like they live out in the woods. That's just how private the grandmother were. She did not want to be around people for good reasons, obvious reasons. Now, she wore a necklace. She wore a necklace. The necklace was, I think, with like 3 people. It doesn't look like that, but there's going to be a pattern that reveals it. So, Charlie, the granddaughter, noticed that necklace on the grandmother in the casket. And when she, was it Charlie that who saw it? I don't remember. There's a lot of things I don't remember about the movie. Well, there's a lot of things I don't remember in the movie. And the names of the mother and the firstborn is one of them. And there's many more. So this review is going to kind of come off half-assed. Okay, so when Charlie was looking in the casket, she noticed that there was a guy laughing or smiling. And I think that guy is a key person. He's not important type of key person, but he's key. Because I think you're going to see him again in the movie. Did I kind of break down the family? I don't think I broke down the family. Okay, but before I get to that, the relationship between the grandmother and her daughter was not good. The daughter blamed her mom for the death of her dad and her brother. So she did have other males in the family, but they died somehow, some way. And the mother believed that her mom was the reason for that. The mom name is Ellen, by the way, because it was in the back of the, it was back here. But it didn't have the names of the other characters. I don't know who's the main character, the mother or the oldest son. I really don't. So I would say the oldest son, even though the camera didn't focus on him. But the mother revealed that the grandmother died in the hospital. Her dying days was on a hospital bed. Because, you know, she does models like the miniature killers and CSI. She does all kinds of... I don't know if it's part of her job or is it just a hobby for her to... or whatever, I don't know. Because she always does those models of things that actually happen. So, I guess that's how she deals with her pain. Okay, now let's talk about the family, since we kind of got some of the things noticed. Now, the family is pretty awkward, with the father being the only normal person. Now, he just happens to marry into the family. He married the daughter and kind of had 2 awkward kids. Now, the son, he at least tried to fit in, but Charlie is pretty much antisocial. You don't see Charlie talking to anybody outside of the family. I don't know that the grandmother rubbed it off on her, or she learned it from her grandmother, or what. But she kind of she's kind of got that mannerism. So the daughter has sleepwalking issues. And a lot of things that she does sleepwalking, she don't remember. She do not remember. So like I said, the grandmother, she preyed upon the family. So when her death happened, it can kickstart payments, rulings, I guess. So the first death was the youngest daughter, the youngest child. So what happened was Charlie, which I couldn't believe that was actual girl, because I actually thought Charlie was a guy because of the name and how the girl looked. They did say that Charlie was a girl, but I probably wasn't paying any attention because I was bored out my damn mind in that first 15 minutes of the movie. Charlie was forced to go to this party with her brother. The brother wanted to go out and, and party. But he didn't go out and to do the things that his mom think he was going to do. So she wanted him not to go out and drink, which most teens do. But they don't only drink. They smoke. They get high, which he was going to do. So he did tell his mama that he didn't going to go to his drink, which was smart. But something should have came to her that what else do kids do at party? Sex is another thing though, but that didn't happen either. So smoking, getting high was what he planned to do. So he approached this chick, and he was asking her, do she like to get high? Apparently she does. So she took him upstairs. So Charlie was going to go upstairs with him, and I don't remember the brother's name, but he didn't want Charlie to go upstairs with him, and Charlie didn't want to stay downstairs. So the best thing he could tell Charlie was to go have some cake. So that's what got him free from Charlie. Charlie didn't want to get any cake anyway, but he pushed it to Charlie so much that she was like, what the hell? So when she was eating the cake, she was having an allergic reaction. And the first sign of the tail was Charlie was drinking water. Because the other tales was the breathing, but the breathing was kind of subtle, so you didn't assume that it was something wrong was happening, because she wasn't breathing heavy at the time, but she was calmly breathing, which was I mean by subtle. So later, she found her brother to tell him that she couldn't breathe. I think that he was done smoking, and I think the effects was supposed to starting to kick in or already kicked in. So when Charlie kind of went into the bedroom, his high was, I think he blew his high or whatever, because he had to get Charlie to the hospital. And upon getting to the hospital, Charlie had a tragic accident because she stuck her head out the window to get some air, and upon getting some air, he swerved to avoid hitting an already dead deer. And Charlie kind of hit a light pole. And the guy was so freaked out that he didn't even turn around to see what happened. It was just too quiet. It was way too quiet. So he even looked in the rearview mirror, and like a tenth of a second, he kind of looked away from the rearview mirror. And I think he kind of sat in the car like a whole minute or two and then drove forward, not looking back. And when he drove home, he walked past his mom's bedroom and went to his room and laid down. And I don't think he slept. So he just laid down, eyes open, until the morning. Because his parents were still awake when he got home. So it wasn't like they were sleeping, because I think he even heard his mom was talking when he was walking past their bedroom. So in the morning, the mom was going to go somewhere. So she was going to take the car. And when she got in, she noticed the headless body in the back seat, and she started screaming. And I think she cried, like, she cried a whole, I ain't gonna say, I don't know how long she cried, but she cried a good while. And she cried about how much it hurt her. And I think she said she wanted to die. Or she I don't know if she said it or she insinuated it. But she just wanted to be over. So when she was crying, the son was like standing in the hallway, you know, listening in. And to my surprise, they didn't have a heart-to-heart talk. That was my issue at that point. They didn't yell at him or anything. So they had Charlie's funeral, and after Charlie's funeral, the family went to hell real fast. They gotten even more awkward. And with the father being the only normal person in the family, he's like right in the middle of it. So with him marrying into the family, his fate is just as imminent as theirs. So he was more of a peacekeeper or something like that, I think. And I also believe that, I ain't gonna say I believe, but I did pick up this information elsewhere, that the father was an atheist. So him being an atheist is kind of important to why he died, or how he died, rather. So like I said, I'm trying to keep this movie review short as possible, because it has a lot of breakdowns and a lot of stuff you need to discuss about this movie. So, after Charlie's death, I think the mom, she was going to this social group, and in the social group, that's where she talked about her dad and her brother. And her mom's dying days. She talked about those. And then I think somewhere she met one of her mom's religious, I wouldn't say friend, what should I call her? A fellowman? I I guess I would. I guess I could say friend. I don't know. I don't know the proper word for it, but yeah, she met her, and she was also a key person in the movie. Well, she was a key person for the grandmother to kick off the ritual, because without her, Payman wasn't going to be able to enter the household. But Payman was everywhere else except the house. So what her job was to invite her into her house. The first time she invited her to a house, she just listened to her story, you know, just giving an ear. So when the second time she comes, she could help out with the ritual. So what she did was she tricked the mother into thinking that her grandson, that she was having a little seance with her grandson, a seance with her grandson. And she had like this etching sketch or chalkboard. I think it was a chalkboard. And she wanted her grandson, well, supposedly her grandson, to write on the chalkboard to show that that is real, because she didn't believe it. She was laughing, but she wasn't ha ha laughing, but she was trying to hold it in. And when the lady saw that she was laughing, she had to convince her to come over to her house and, you know, and witness this, because she really needed her to do this. So that's why she was so hard on convincing her. So when she saw the chalk was moving across the chalkboard, she was like, how did this happen? How did you do this? And then, and I guess she saw so much that it was kind of freaking her out, so she had to leave. So upon her leaving, she gave her this note that she can do the same thing to get her daughter to communicate with her. And basically what that did was that let her allow Payman in the house. Cause like I said, that was not the spirit of the dead that was they're communicating with. That's the spirit of Payman. So she got the family together to do a seance, and she needed everybody in the household to do it. So it was pulling teeth. It was like pulling teeth to get her husband to do it, because like I said, her husband's an atheist. So he's not gonna be as supportive when it comes to that. So she's the first person she needed to convince. So once she felt that she got him on board, she could get the son. Now the son, I get that he's a teenager, but a lot of times I could just beat his ass, because he was far too emotional. But I mean, like I said, I understand that he's a teen. But his character gets you screaming at him. Not literally screaming at him, like in your mind. So she was what did she use of Charlie? I think she used a notepad she used a notepad that Charlie kept with her. Cause Charlie, she draws weird things. Well, she doesn't draw weird things, but she draws people, but they look weird. the girl that he was smoking with said that she made her look weird in one of her drawings. So she used that tablet. She set it on the table. She lit some candles or whatever, and then she did all the correct steps, and she talked to Charlie. Well, she assumed she was talking to Charlie. I don't know what happened with the notebook. Maybe the pages started turning, and it was freaking out the son that the father forced it to come to an end, because the mother, she was starting to talk like Charlie. I think she was talking like Charlie, and not only she was talking like Charlie. It had this demonic echo when she was doing it, and the guy was crying. He was crying too much, so I think he closed the notebook or whatever and threw it on the ground or something, and that was it. She kind of woke up from it, and she was like, "Why did you do that?" You know. And then she saw that her son was over emotional about it. So at that point, the whole family life is in jeopardy because of that ritual that was performed in that house. So the father was getting emails. I think he was getting emails that the grandmother's body was dug up. Her body was dug up. And to my surprise, he didn't say anything to the family about the body of the grandmother was removed. The son, he was having episodes at school. And he was also hanging with some guys on a football field, I think. There was, I don't know, there was under a bleacher or whatever, but there was somewhere where they were smoking. And he couldn't breathe. And one of the guys was asking, was he okay? And he was trying to explain, but the only thing he could say was somebody hold his hand. And one of the guys kind of, got closer and held his hand, which I kind of thought was an admirable thing, because most guys, they're not going to do that shit. They're going to look at it, no, that's gay. I'm not doing that, But I applaud that guy for, helping him out. So his final episode, the biggest episode, was when he was in class. When he was in class, I think he was starting to become possessed. He was looking in the mirror. Well, he wasn't looking in the mirror. He was looking in a glass. And in his glass, he saw his reflection. And I think this is where it kind of resembled the movie Mirrors. If you've seen the movies Mirrors, then you're going to know exactly what this is. When he looked at his reflection was smiling at him, kind of evil-like. But when you was looking at him, the actual him, he was looking kind of scared. And then he was possessed. I think his teacher was mistaking him for having his hands raised. And he was like, yeah, you have a question? And then the question became, are you okay? Because when the camera panned to him, he kind of looked weird with his hand raised, and then he kind of banged his head on the desk like 2 times, and then when the second time he banged his head, it kind of woke him up, and he was like screaming, and the whole classroom like had their desks moved like to the far front, and then you can see some people with their phones kind of videoing it. And I also noticed there was this kid that was sitting in front of him. He was kind of laughing at the whole thing, and I was like, damn, even he kind of like got far away from it. He was like sitting directly in front of him. So the mom, let's go to the mom. Now the mom, I think she went to this lady's house. She went to this lady's house, and she was knocking on her door. And then when she was I think she was looking in the house too. It shows like somebody was there, but nobody was answering the door. So I think she took the pillow. I think she took the welcoming mat and took it home with her. I think she did that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But anyway, but in that house, it had a picture of her son with his eyes cut out or something like that, and I think the message that the movie is trying to tell you is that he's the sacrificial target. So when the mom went home, she went to the attic. No, I don't think she went to the attic. She went somewhere, either the storage room, her mother's room. She went somewhere where she had like all of her grandma's things, not all her grandma's things, but all of her mother's things. And she started going through them. And she noticed that she had those welcome mats made similar to the lady at the apartment that she was going to. And she discovered that the lady was in some of those pictures with her grandmother. Not her grandmother, with her mother. So that kind of woke her up. So right now she knows that her family is in danger. Now she knows that her family is in danger. I think she kind of put 2 and 2 together because of her daughter's death, the mother's death, her father and her brother. I think she put 2 to 2 together, and then she tried to warn her husband. And what she's trying to get her husband to do is throw Charlie's sketchbook in the fireplace, because when she did it, she kind of caught fire. So what she had to do, she had to get it out of the fireplace and kind of put the fire out. And when she did that, the fire kind of disappeared from her arm. So what she wanted to do was to get the husband to throw the book in the fireplace. And she was trying to explain everything to him, and he was looking at her like, yeah, he's listening, and okay, I'm gonna do it. But the whole time he was nodding his head. He was like, yeah, you are crazy. I'm calling the cops. And when he told her that kind of like a slap to the face, because that was the actual time that was the one time in the scene that she was actual normal, that she was actually herself, and she actually knew what she was talking about. But the husband, he wasn't going to believe that. And you could actually believe, I mean, not believe, but you could understand why. So when she heard those words, she kind of took the book from his hand and threw it in herself so she can catch flames. But instead of her catching flames, he caught flames. And the only thing she could do was like look, like, why did that happen? The first time it was me. Why was it him? That's what she was trying to process in her mind. And while she was doing that, she was possessed. You could see that she was possessed. Because I think you see this, I don't even know what the hell you call it. But you could see something was like going through her body. And then her facial expression changed while her husband caught flames. Now, a lot of people don't understand what just happened. Why did, when she throw the sketch in the fireplace, that she caught flames, but the second time she did it, the husband did? Well, keep in mind that payment is a demon. Demons, they lie. So basically what happened was Payment played a trick on her. That's basically what happened. He played a trick on her because she wanted to take an easy way out. So instead of her trying to outsmart Payment, he outsmarted her. And so with him having the knowledge that she just gave him, I guess that made him a sacrificial, made him more sacrificial. So Payment sacrificed, no, it made it where she sacrificed her husband. So from this point, kickstarts the third act. Now, I believe it happened around the daytime. So they panned the picture outside from daytime, and then it panned again to nighttime. And then when it hit nighttime, there was a lot of bodies outside. I mean, like, naked bodies. They were just standing around the house. Shit. And right there, if that ain't enough to scare you, you got just be prepared to what's coming, because a lot more scary shit is about to come. So the son wakes up. The son wakes up, not knowing what the hell happened, not knowing what the hell is gonna happen. Now you really have to fear for his life, because he's in some shit that he can't get out of. I think he kind of woke up. He kind of sat on his bed. And then, like, behind him, you see his mom, like, up on the ceiling. And then when he kind of turned around, you could see that she was crawling out the door she was crawling out the door sideways. Something like that. And she managed to do it quietly. So he went downstairs, and he saw his dad's burnt body. And then I think he was starting to get emotional when he saw his dad's body. And then when he looked behind him, he saw a dude smiling. I mean, he was like standing in the doorway smiling. And he also had no clothes on. And I believe that's the same guy I was talking about in the beginning of the video, about the guy Charlie looked at, and there was a guy was smiling at Charlie or laughing. I think that's the same guy that was in that doorway. So after he took a quick look, now I'm not going to say a quick look, but after he looked at him, his mama that was up on the ceiling the first time, I think he kind of looked over there, and she wasn't there, and then he looked somewhere else, and she was running out the darkness of a corner. So she was chasing him upstairs, and that's like the scariest part of the whole movie. That's the best scene of the whole movie, and that shit was that. That's the best scene of the whole movie. I swear it is. I swear it is. When she came running after that dude from that corner, you couldn't do shit but to be like, oh shit, this is interesting. And then she was chasing him upstairs, and mysteriously he ran up to the attic because the attic was already down. How was it down? I don't know. Cause I think when he was leaving his bedroom, I think that thing was lit up. I could be wrong, but he just managed to run up the attic and, you know, pulled it up. And then his mom she was on her hands and knees on the ceiling and banging her head. And up in the attic, up in the attic where a lot of surprises were. So the grandson, I still don't know his name. He looked over in the corner, and it had his picture where his grandmother's body was laying at. Because I didn't mention that when the dad got those emails about his mother-in-law's body was being dug up. When it was being dug up, the body was placed in the attic, and her body was headless. And apparently, the father believed that the mother was doing it while she was sleepwalking, and happened to brought the body up to the attic, and she just happened to caught it when she was in her right mind. So when he looked in that corner, he could see the outline on the floor that the body was there, but instead it was like his picture and some candles was sitting there with his eyes poked out. And then he kind of he was forcing himself to believe that he was asleep. So while he was walking away with his back turned, you know, he was slapping himself. And then he saw some things that he didn't want to see, like, okay, this is not a dream. So he ran and jumped through a window, and I guess he fell to his death. And then when he fell to his death, you could see that, well, wait a minute. Let me go back a bit. When, I think the reason why he started slapping himself because he saw his mom in the attic with him. And I think she was decapitating herself with some wires. And she was going real fast. And upon him jumping out of the window, you could still hear her, you know, doing this. And then it stopped, and then her head hit the ground. You can actually hear that after he landed outside. So later, you could see the shadow like passing his body. And then after the shadow passed his body, you could see that that whatever the hell that thing is kind of landed on his body. So when it landed on his body, the grandson wakes up. I mean, not the grandson, but the the firstborn child, the firstborn son. He wakes up, and oh my God, I I, I hate that I don't remember their name. Uh, he wakes up and saw that his mom was flowing to the treehouse. So apparently that's where everything was taking place at the treehouse. So he was walking after his mom, and he was climbing up the ladder to the treehouse where Charlie was, and the mom was sleeping. Well, I think the mom was sleeping in the treehouse one time, but Charlie was sleeping in the treehouse as a habit, because I don't know. But she slept there one time, but when she was there, she had heaters up there with her. So he went up to the treehouse and saw the headless bodies of his grandmother, his mother. Well, there wasn't a third headless body, but there was a head of Charlie, and Charlie had the crown on his head, on her head. I'm sorry. So he was looking at the scene, and for the first time, he wasn't freaking out. He was just looking at everything. And then behind him, well, I ain't gonna say behind him, but surrounded him, there was like what would you call it? Like worshipers. They was like on their hands and knees. They was like in a bowing position, and they too was naked. So I'm guessing at this point that Payman has been released. He has taken over the body of the firstborn of her firstborn son. So the lady that put the crown on his head, I think that was the lady that was having his picture with the eyes cut out in her apartment. I think that was her voice that was doing the talking. So what the worshipers were saying at the end was "Hail Payman" and "Hail Payman." I think they said it 3 times, which 2 of the time was the worshipers, but the first time was one person. So that was the end of the movie. And like I said, I wanted to keep this movie short, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that need to be said, that needs to be discussed, that needs to be told. And a lot of these things that don't need to be left out. Now, this movie does deserve the 5-star rating that it gave. I wonder if they're going to do another movie like this, but they're going to do the movie of the other demons from hell, or another 8 demon from hell that's north, south, and east or whatever, because I kind of learned something about that. You know, I don't really know anything about the satanic rituals or whatever. Now, I noticed some movies, they did that, and then there was a TV show I remember, 2.5 Men, where Charlie dated this voodoo chick, and I think she also was was worshiping I don't know if she was worshiping a demon from hell or Satan himself, but I'm not going to get too far up into that. But it is interesting to see them do another movie like that. Because I do want to see it. I do want to see it. But something tells me it's not going to happen. But this is a great movie. And to my surprise, this turned out to be the next movie, because the next movie I wanted to do was something else. So I'm probably going to do this next. So please forgive me for a lot of other things that I was saying about the movie, you know, like throwing you off and not fully explaining the movie. I think I did it to the best I can, though, but it's whatever. All right.